I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is, what are you listening to? Oh, it's Nightwish.
Yes, it's Nightwish. Mary's Creek.
Yeah, it's got a weird title. It's like Mary's Creek something.
Mary's Creek Blood or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say this is for the Big Homie Pony. But it's not. I believe this is an alliance pick, The Call.
Creek Mary's Blood by the band Nightwish for The Call. Well, the core is Pony's group.
Yeah, but it's not Pony. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it probably came from Pony, but it's not like, it's not her review.
It's her alliance.
It's her alliance.
What is an alliance, dear listener? An alliance is a really, really cool thing. It's where a bunch of people get together, they pool their points together, and then that helps determines what song we listen to. And it's starting at $1 at Patreon, and then you get other little perks and thingamajiggies on Patreon. But the cool thing is, as we said, you join an alliance with like-minded people that like the same type of genre bands that you like, and that helps influence that. So if you want to join an alliance, boom, starting $1 Patreon. There are other it gives you the link right away, but if you can't find it, message me on Patreon and I'll give it to you. There are other categories. I'm gonna start doing a little video thing. Actually, it's I'll probably put a post up and be like, okay, if Vin was to do a video series on Patreon at the $5 tier and above, what would you guys like to see and how frequently would you like to see it? So I'll put that up there on Patreon at some point. But anyway, there's that. Also, if you're a filthy capitalist and you don't want to work with an alliance, you want to hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody like Sori, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line, VinandSoriMerch@gmail.com.
But if you do that
PayPal.
3 times or more on your 4th time, you actually get grandfathered down to our $75 price.
Rate. Correct. Is that Orion? That means he got out of his crib.
No, he was already out. He was downstairs. Open.
He's there by himself.
No. He is?
Yes. I'm telling you, he got out of his crib.
No, honey, I already got him out of his crib. I put him in his high chair with some snacks.
Then how do you get out of his high chair? We're working.
You should let him say hi to the camera. Right in there.
Say hi.
Can you say hi? Say, oh no.
No.
Yeah. Say, do tribal. Yay!
Yay!
High five. Fist bump. Yay!
Yay!
Huh?
Say, oh no.
All right, bye now. We gotta work. All right, we're back.
We've returned.
Oh.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes. Hold on. Let me get my lyrics up. Creek Mary's Blood. Let's go. Holy moly.
yuha mi ihanla o hinielo. On shunkmane du tanka be hena. Shunkawa kanbe watoga hena. Oblaye te anka be o ihankeshne hena. Ta ate ebekin asniki ashni he akatan hanbi iwanka. Oblaye te anka kin o shicheshni mitaku yebe on. Makoche kin wakan. Wakan tanka kinon. Miwichala ohini. Han hepi e yuha kichi. Han pechu e yuha kichi yelo. Miye checha he haka kin yelo. Na niye checha shonkmane tutanka pi king ka mikaga wowa shata ison. Un chimpi tuweni ni taku keya stak u. Un wakupi pela nukakinia. Am pechu washte le talawan le alawan un magaina bitayelo. Un tapi it okav otaye. Na ekte ena on hanska o hakab ni itansni au ni da ni ihanke yelo.
Holy moly. Wow.
That was a real piece of art right there.
Whoa, man. This is emotional, man.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. It's funny because when it first started and you were like, you like cheered or you did something, but I felt like it was like supposed to be like moment of silence. Like, don't mess with the honor here. And then when the song started, I didn't have the lyrics up, so I didn't know what was being sung about. But then when I did see the lyrics, because obviously the video's there, when I saw the lyrics and it was talking about the Trail of Tears, I'm like, okay, yeah.
The name of the record is Once. It's really interesting. Yeah, because that was our show for a while, Once.
Oh, mm-hmm, yep.
I tell you what, I miss watching that show.
Yeah, me too. I could watch that one again.
I love the, Okay, so...
Soon I'll Be Here No More. You'll hear what?
Creek Mary's Blood is a book by this person named Dee Brown, who fictionalizes the astonishing true story of Mary Musgrove, born in 1700 to a Creek tribal chief, and 5 generations of her family by tracing her struggles with colonists in Georgia, and then the lives of her 2 sons, one born to a white trader and the other to a Cherokee warrior. Whoa. Brown's novel creates a gripping panorama of the American Indian experience in the 18th and 19th centuries. His narrative spans colonial rebellion, the Trail of Tears, and the Civil War.
Holy moly.
In which Mary's descendants fought on both sides of the conflict.
Get that book. I need to read that to the kids. That would be a really great addition to our school experience this year.
Yeah. So I'll screenshot it there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get that. That's something that we could, do all in the morning together or in the evening together.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I do think that some of our, show experiences could be taken up by book reading.
What do you mean, show
Like, when we don't have a show going on, if we read a book together...
Oh,
if it's a good one, you know what I mean? It really paints a picture, not something boring.
Yeah.
But something that really,
I agree.
It's got to have a little turmoil in it. Some bad stuff, a little bit of cursing. The kids they'll be like, "Whoa, Mom just read a curse." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that kind of keeps their interest. But that story definitely sounds like it would really kind of pull everybody's attention in.
Yeah, I think it's.
Did you ever see that statue?
What statue?
Go ahead, you can go. I'll show it to you. You're making me nervous. I know this makes no sense, but Trail of Tears statue. It's right here. Have you seen that? I'm sure you've seen it before. He's all slumped over and his horse is tired and it's just, he was a warrior and he's got his, but it's such a sad, but yet I always really liked it. It always kind of resonated with me. Hey, we talk about collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And first of all, do you believe in collective consciousness as in it spans generations? Or are you not sure yet?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so like if we did that review where it was talking about like the soul that kind of connects us all, that we're one giant soul that spans generations and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if that's true and there is a collective consciousness, wouldn't it be interesting if those of us that struggle more with depression had more, they were like locked in more with the collective consciousness, the sorrows of the past, the sorrows of our ancestors, like that sorrow that you can't really place why you're sad or why you feel like that, whatever, but like something, it feels like there's something really, really deep going on, but you don't really know what it is and you can't like put your finger on it. Like if that was the sorrow of our collective consciousness and there were just people that were just more connected to it.
Yeah.
More conscious.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like a couple of years ago, everybody was talking about being an empath, and empaths are able to, pick up on pain of other people. I mean, I think it's hilarious to me that consciousness is such a deep mystery that when people hear about things like the collective consciousness, for example, how quickly they're so quick to dismiss it. It's like we don't even know what consciousness is.
Oh, really? People are quick to... I don't know much about the discussion.
Yeah. It's like certain people from certain communities are just, it's like, what are you talking about?
We
don't even know.
There's so much we don't know. How can we just...
Yeah.
Listen, I knew somebody that had one of these statues, and they thought for sure this thing was worth like...
Millions.
It was only like worth like $26 or something like that.
The thing, so like, this is one of those things where your worldview really, affects how you can enjoy a song like this. Okay, so you got European people singing about the white man coming and screwing everything up, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, the folks who destroyed the American Indians were, white Americans who are obviously descended from Europeans. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it as a Christian, right? Like I've got two giant.
That's an interesting thought.
I've got two giant concepts that work simultaneously. One is there's multiple giant concepts. One is, why is it bad to go into a land of a group of people, and they talk about, you fought, we lost, not the war, but an unfair fight, because, technologically the Europeans were more advanced than the indigenous people here.
Yeah, and they did dirty things like giving them the blankets.
Yeah, right? So, okay, why is that bad? Well, from a Christian worldview, you say, well, it's bad because we're more than just bags of protoplasm and atoms. There's something transcendently valuable about human beings. We say we're image bearers of God. So number one,
and we're supposed to use our ingenuity to bless the world, not
right. Because all of us are supposed to rule the world together. We're not supposed to rule each other, right? So plank one is it's bad to kill everybody because we're all image bearers of God. Plank two is, well, then why is this happening? And that second question is massively important. So like if I ask a black Israelite, why did that happen? Or if I ask Farrakhan, why did that happen? They'll say, well, that's because Europeans are the devil and they're disagreeable to live with in peace. Right? And then he could say, look at the last 500 years, you can see that Europeans are disagreeable to live in peace, and they've raised hell all through the planet. Right? And that's one way to interpret that. Like, why is it wrong? Well, everybody's an image of God. Well, then why did this happen to these beautiful people? Well, it's because you've got a race of people who are devils and disagreeable to live with in peace. Of course, what?
Convenient.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it just depends on where you look. Like, if you go to some tribal place and there's a bunch of tribes, I'm sure there's one that's wreaking havoc on all the other ones. Like, places where we haven't touched, you know what I mean? Like, there's always some group of people,
Well, the biblical answer is to say, well, there's nothing particularly wrong with white European people. The issue is original sin. That's the problem. But it's very interesting. Like all throughout history, you have, when you take away the original sin doctrine, and I know it's been a running theme in the channel, but I don't think people personalize the original sin thing. They're saying, you're saying something bad about me, when it's like, okay, look at this from a meta perspective, right? If you take away the doctrine of original sin, that all of us are capable of doing these terrible atrocities, it's just a matter of convenience and opportunity, then when Marx looks at the injustice in the world, Marx says, oh, that's because people are rich people are bad. Well, I've met some very kind-hearted, very generous rich people, and we've also met some really nasty, horrible poor people. Mm-hmm. Right? But Marx looks at the injustice in the world and he goes, "Oh, it's rich people; they're bad." So he's a classist in the other perspective. The lower class are inherently good, and then the rich people, they're inherently bad because you don't have a doctrine of original sin. So you don't say, "Hey, if the money affords me the power to exercise my oppressive whims that the money doesn't have." So it's funny to me, like with Marx, and none of these people ask the question. It's like, why is money so corrupting? And it's because of the power that money gives a person to exercise their sinful nature without a consequence. Normally, when people are on the same level, then there is a consequence that can happen. The society can come around and punish that person. But when one person has more power than everybody else and they're unchecked, so power and money doesn't corrupt anyone.
No, you are who you are, and your circumstances make it so that way it becomes more obvious to you who you are. For instance, lots of us have internet. Probably if you're watching this, it's because you have the internet. And like, the internet is another place where it's like, okay, you have all this power. You can do ultimate good or you can do ultimate evil with the internet. What are you doing with it?
Right.
You know?
You can't blame the internet for that.
Right, exactly. I used to blame the internet for people's
I know.
lack of self-control. Yeah. But now it's like, well, no, I mean...
Yeah, it just affords you the opportunity to whatever. Okay, so then you look at what happened to Native Americans, and again, you can do the Farrakhan route, which I love, Brother Minister Farrakhan, or you can go the
say the honorable. It really pisses people off.
The honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan.
How can you call him honorable?
But you also have. The Black Israelites or whatever, right? Which I've gone to war with, and their whole thing is there's something particularly wrong with white people. And the answer is no. There's nothing particularly wrong with rich people or white people. It's just a human story, period.
Right.
And, and so it's like, it's horrible what happened to the Native American people. But they were also destroying themselves and doing horrible things to each other, and it's not like all of them were living in this
in this peaceful environment,
native utopia, and then white people came and that's not what was happening. I mean,
if that was the case, how did they know how to war?
Correct. I mean, let's just be real. Like, this is human nature,
right?
So. So the first plank is, why is it bad to kill all those people? Well, they're creating the image and likeness of God, and we're supposed to be ruling the world together. We're not supposed to be ruling each other. Okay. Well, second, why did all this massacring happen then? Because people are sinners. Because human beings are sinners. Okay. And the third thing is, then how could we ever reconcile with each other? And so I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing a European singing with this native guy, and one way of doing it on a secular level is to meet with music. So art is one of the ways that we come together and we hear melody, we hear rhythm, and we couldn't understand a word that guy was saying, but we felt what he was saying, and like the crowd who are populated mostly with Europeans, were giving this guy back the honor, and we all understood that this guy was a representative of a group of people who have been, whatever, slammed around, whatever, but they're still here, and he's a representative of that, and people are like, and it was a beautiful moment, and there wasn't one of these things, these are such complicated issues, and I think because people don't think long and hard about these things, they get triggered, right? So it's like, there's a lot of white European descended individuals who don't want to hear, hey, your father's committed this atrocity X, Y, and Z. But the reason they get triggered is because the way people talk about it, it's as if there's something particularly wrong with European that is not wrong with everybody else. And so they get defensive and say, well, that was in the past, I had nothing to do with that, even though you're a beneficiary of the horrible actions of your fathers. We've already had this conversation. But because there's no redemption anymore. See, that's the problem. We're talking about this in cancel culture with our the whole Gina Carano situation. It's like, this is the problem, is that third plank that the Christian worldview has, which is there is room for redemption. And there are ways for people to put down their weapons of hostility against one another by recognizing plank A and plank B, which is we're all image bearers of God and we're all sinners. And so you can find common ground with your neighbor who's a descendant of murderous people by saying, I'm also a descendant of murderous people. If I go back far enough, I'm sure I must have been part of some sort of warring tribe or whatever that pillaged and destroyed whole swaths of people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like we don't look away from the very real offenses that our fathers did to each other, but at the same time, there's a way for us to recognize that, repent of that, however, whatever form that takes. Like, again, when you have art and you have a guy singing on stage and then you have a bunch of European people going, like cheering for him and respecting what he's saying and loving this guy, like, there is a lot of redemption in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of recognition of, okay, yes, we know that was in the past, but we also know that it's affecting both of the descendants, the lines today. We're not going to pretend that just because it's in the past, now all of us are starting that's ridiculous. Right? But that third plank of, hey, redemption has happened so that we can come together is, I think, a very, very powerful utility in the Christian story, where it provides explanatory power for history in the sense of, why do we keep doing this to each other? These guys are talking about the beautiful land painted in blood. Why are we constantly doing this to each other?
Right.
Why is it that we can't live together in peace? And the racial explanation in my mind is insufficient. The class explanation is insufficient. Rooting it in human ontology itself, to me, seems to be the most rational and logical explanation for how bloody history has become. And then simultaneous to that, there is this idea in Jesus that when he died, the old way of being human died with him. And when he rose from the dead, as Paul says in Ephesians, he resurrected one new man, thus killing the hostility, it says in Ephesians.
Right.
And so like Jesus is like raising up a new humanity now. So now, as a new human, you look at what you just saw on stage and there's just a ton of hope and redemption there, while simultaneously it gives you the ability to own the sins of your fathers, because you say, yeah, all of us are sinners. And do I believe that if the Native Americans had the technology and the tradition of, whatever, and all these white people showed up, what do I think would have happened? I think there would have been a lot of white slaves. That's what I think would have happened. You saw what the Arabs did, over there in the Barbary Pirates. I mean, they took a bunch of white slaves too. Slavery's not an exclusively white thing, Being a conquistador is not exclusively a white thing. It is human nature. And so human nature itself is the problem that needs to be redeemed. And I think, obviously, as a Christian, I'm going to say, like, our story explains all of that in a way that gives me a grid to interpret what the hell is happening on this stage and why is it so special, and why were we getting emotional when we were watching it, and why are there goosebumps, because I just think that all three of those concepts are happening right in front of us.
For sure.
And I don't think you need necessarily to be a Christian to know intuitively, to your point at the beginning, the collective consciousness. I don't think you need to be a Christian to know intuitively that those three things are happening simultaneously.
Yeah, until we acknowledge and come to terms with the fact that we are a part of the problem, then it's going to be harder for us to come with a solution, because we're too busy pushing off blame to actually, like, you waste so much mind power trying to, push off any culpability. Right. So then it doesn't enable you to come up with a solution. I mean, I was watching a little show with Orion, and there was this kid who was getting all down on himself, and so because he was getting all down on himself, he couldn't come with an actual solution to fix the problem. Yeah. Until he got his until he felt better about himself, then he was able to be like, yeah, actually I do have a solution. And so I think that sometimes you know, if there was a whole room of people and you were the only person that was smelly, and then they were like pointed you out and they were like, this room stinks and it's because of you. Like, you'd feel all this embarrassment, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But instead it's like the entire room stinks.
You're in a locker
and we're
room.
all part of this problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in a locker
so
room.
everybody has to take a shower.
Right.
So once we realize that, you know what, we're all part of the problem in one way or another, and you know, there's ways that we've been unkind to other people, we've been hurtful, we've been mean, we've been just whatever, like there's a past that we have that we've benefited off of the suffering of other people, like, but we just have to look at the world in front of us and the people around us and say, how can I solve this problem? There's a problem of pain that's around me, and what can I do to be a solution for fixing that?
And that principle is still there. We as Americans are still, like, if you watch the 13th, about the 13th Amendment, and, you know, the prison industrial complex, and it talks about all these Fortune 200 companies like Apple and Nike or whatever that are using prison labor.
I know.
At a massively discounted price, obviously. Ridiculous, 2 cents an hour, or some ridiculous thing like that. And we all know about the sweatshops overseas too. So to this moment, we're still, and now as a black person, you're still participating in an evil system that is, and I now am a beneficiary of the slavery that's happening, whether it's a prison industrial complex or overseas, right? So I don't walk around with a bunch of guilt. I just walk around saying, okay, how do we address that? And how do we balance a scale? There's 330 million of us in this country. How do we balance the scale? And so there's things that we do, you know, to address that personally, and we're not going to go make a, you know, show out of it, but it's
everybody has to do what they can do from where they're at.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, all the guilt and the thing, and you're walking, and that's the thing, is like, because people don't have a redemption story, and the fact of the matter is, the people who are pushing the consciousness of, hey, this happened to this group of people, these people were mistreated, yada yada yada, these people are so vengeful, and they present it without any sort of redemption. I'm not talking about this, because this is the perfect way to do it. Where this guy was given the platform to display to us the art and the beauty of his people. And Nightwish was able to say, yeah, we did this to these people, and somehow we got to find a way to move on together. But because there's no redemption story currently in our zeitgeist, it's just, you're bad.
Right.
And, you know, I kind of like, part of me...
Well, there's two. There's one that's you're bad, and then there's we have nothing to do with this.
Well, that's a defensive reaction, right?
And
because
so then
you're
there's
going
no
after
solution.
People, right, you're going after people, you're presenting them no redemption whatsoever, and so they're going to say, well, I had nothing to do with that. And of course, it's irrational. But at the same time, it was funny because God was speaking to me when I was like doing the Tom McDonald stuff in the comments, because I just... People
I see you keep going in there.
People know. Yeah, I stopped doing it because God. Yeah, because you know people. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, so I'm like going to these comments, and God's like, yeah, but there's things that you're not saying. To these people, that if you did say it, they would be less exercised emotionally. And I was like, I know that. And he's like, but you're specifically not saying that because you want to fuck with these people. And I said, yeah, it's true. And he said, you should stop doing that. You should either do the right thing or stop talking. So I just stopped talking.
Oh, are you serious?
Well, you know how I am.
You are so unbelievable.
I don't pretend with God.
No, you don't. At all.
But the real issue is what was going on in that comment section was people were told you're horrible, but no redemption story whatsoever. So then they reacted emotionally, but that's what's happening in the current zeitgeist. Is there's no redemption for anything. It's like you're white, you're particularly bad if you're white. So then the other side of it is you get these white people that come on TV and apologize for being white, which is also dumb.
Or kissing or licking people's boots or something. Because
there's no redemption that's being offered. So you have one group of people who are saying, yeah, we did this horrible thing, so now being white is the worst thing in the world. Coca-Cola had something like, stop being so white. Some training thing, stop being so... I couldn't believe... I was like, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy. But then on the other hand, you got other people going, fuck that, no! And then they start saying, and it was a good thing that we did that to those people on during Thanksgiving. So during Thanksgiving, you had like... I forgot who it was, but he was memeing some crazy thing like, I love celebrating the anniversary of the destruction of our foes or whatever. Like it's this pushback.
On purpose.
It's this pushback because the people that are pushing on them are offering them no redemption whatsoever. So, I honestly, I think art and the Christian religion are going to save the world.
Yep, that's it.
That's what I believe. Because we're just going to keep going through these iterations until somebody finally figures out, you know what, maybe canceling everybody we disagree with is not a good idea. And maybe denying the fact that we're the beneficiaries of evil actions is also not a good idea.
Let's try something
And maybe condemning whole swaths of people from a landmass and giving them no redemption is not a good idea.
We can't keep repeating history.
And eventually everybody, that Jesus guy, I think he knew what he was talking about. But holy moly, man, I just...
Very, very, very
good. The song at an existential level, obviously Tarja's voice is like... Definitely Floor has a more powerful metal whatever type voice, and I prefer, whatever, but the way that she did it was just so whimsical, and I feel like nobody could do it the way that she did it. I don't want to get into the whole
for me,
Biggie
it was
Tupac with Floor, and
it was the masculine singer. Like that was like
this guy.
Yeah, that took over the whole thing for me, and like I felt like that she was. Her voice came in like with a sweetness to it, and his was there.
He could sing too, man. Holy
his was
shit.
like it was so powerful, and it had like just had like this authentic sound to it, and it kind of like brought you back. And I felt like that I too was.
Yeah, so his name is John Two Hawks.
Okay.
And that guy can sing too. He had that little run where his voice was like projecting.
Felt like I was like there, like I felt like I was a part of it. It was just a really cool experience.
What is the name?
And it was cool
of that
too,
instrument that
because
he was using?
he started to do like this dance, and it was like they slowed it down, so you saw all the tassels like move slowly.
Yeah.
It just had such a great feel to it.
Yeah, amazing.
Really loved it.
Amazing. Yeah.
I loved his entire presentation, and like I don't know, like, and there was like one point where they had like this fog down by his feet. That was a cool thing, and it seemed like the entire band was like in on it, like in their own ways, like.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's.
And I have one random thought also.
No, go ahead.
So the random thought is like it zoomed in on this guy's fingernails. I'm actually assuming it's a guy. I don't really know. And his like nail polish is like all chipping off. And when I was a teenager, I don't know why I got this confused. Like a young teenager, I thought that was the cool way to wear your nail polish, half chipped off, because that's how everybody was wearing it. But I was far too OCD to be able to like do that, because I was always like repainting them, and a little chip got in, and I put it. I like struggled to try to get mine like this, and now I realize no, it was just I was on top of it and wanted my nails painted perfectly, and they were just like letting it slide, and that's why their nails look like that. So I was like, how can I do this? You have to just relax and be lazy about it. But every time I see chipped nail polish, I'm like, why did I think that was the thing? Like, how did I not understand that concept? That obviously that's what was going on. I don't know. Whatever.
That's what you got about this deep video.
No. I told her that was a side note. That was a side note. Anyway, wonderful song. Loved it. It's actually an 11 for me.
Yeah.
Because it has some real significance to it.
I'm going to be listening to this at the gym in an hour or so. Man, like that.
So thank you to the call.
Yeah, shout out to the core. This is an 11 for me as well. I think this is the first 11 I've done from these guys.
There you have it. All right.
Okay. There you go. Shout out to Pony. Shout out to all the native brothers and sisters. And shout out to the day when we all figure it out. Inshallah. Then out.
Sori out.
Gone.
Villagers, the NCAA college basketball tournament is right around the corner. We're doing a March Madness contest for our village to raise funds for other villagers in need. It only costs $1 to participate, and you'll have the option, if you want to donate a little extra. The way it works is you go to ESPN.com and fill out a bracket with the teams that you think are likely to win each game. Whoever wins our contest will get to pick a song for Vin and Sori to react to. So that song you've always wanted them to do, you can now get it done for as little as $1 if you win the contest. There will be a link in the description to this website that will take you to a PayPal site. From there, you make your donation and you'll get an email back with instructions on where to join the group and the password so that you can join. Now, if you're asking, I'm not a big college basketball junkie, I don't know what's going to happen, that's okay. There's all kinds of information on the website that will show you what the experts are predicting, statistics on each team, and even trends as far as what everybody else is voting on. So you'll fill out your bracket. You can start doing that on March 14th, and you'll have until the games begin on the 19th to complete your bracket. You can join the group at any time, but those are the dates that you can actually fill your bracket out. If you have any questions, send those to Vin and Sori March Madness at gmail.com, and I look forward to seeing you guys there.